Hello, everyone, and welcome, as always, to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Now, today we're going to continue on with our basic tutorial of Paradox's Crusader Kings III, and this is episode number 10. This episode, which will likely be our last basic tutorial episode, although I will be doing another episode called a 60-minute crash course, where I will try to fit everything into 60 minutes, which may take me speaking very quickly. No, hopefully not. I'm just going to hit the high points in that, so if that interests you, I will be making that. And then also, I will be starting a Let's Play where we put the time clock on one or two, depending, but I won't ever be pausing it. We will just let the game run out. We will be trying to become the most renowned family in the game, starting with the petty king of Murshad and the House Bryan. But this episode, number 10 of the basic tutorial, will be all about war. Now, we saved war for last because in other games of this type, and there's not really a game quite like this, but in other Paradox games or games like this, really they're paint the map games. You build up your army and you go to try to take over as much as you can with your army. This game is different because it's a lot more balanced between doing that and painting the map and your army and figuring out other cunning ways to get titles to add renown to your family. And so I decided to focus on the other stuff first because I think that's really what makes this game so interesting. Now, with that said, I love the war mechanics in this game. I think they're very well done. I know that a lot of people think they're too abstracted in some way, but I don't really necessarily think that's true for what the designers were going for, which is they don't want this to be a quote unquote war game. They wanted it to be more balanced between those other aspects, the intrigue and the marriage and your diplomacy, those kind of things, and the war component. But the war component does have a lot of intricacies to it, and we're going to talk about those today. So it will be the military tab that we'll get to. But first of all, we're going to talk about how you declare war in the first place. And to declare war, the number one thing to remember about warfare, if you get nothing else out of this video, is you have got to have a casus belli. And what does casus belli mean? Essentially, it means reason. You have got to have a reason to declare war. Now, it does not have to be a good reason. You can have your bishop just fabricate one, and by the word fabricate, you can guess that, maybe that's not a very good reason. Um, you also can have a very good reason. You may claim that this was your father's land, or this land has always been in your family. It's now been taken away, and you want to get it back. Okay, so you've got to have a casus belli. You cannot just raise your army and go marching into, Gwynedd over here and say, "Hey, what's going on? We're invading you." Well, why? Um, you've got to have a reason, and that again is a little bit of an abstraction, but uh, it has its basis in things that you see today, which is even when a country invades another country, even if you know that there's no reason for it, it seems ridiculous, whatever, they will always have Baghdad Bob or whoever else go out there and tell you why they did it, right? It's because they've insulted, our president, or they stole our oil, or they did this, they did that. You see that with the United States. No matter whether you think it's a good reason or a bad reason, there is always a reason given. It just seems to be human nature that you don't just show up and start making war on people. The one exception to that, I will say, it differs a little bit with tribes and clans in this game, and we're not going to get that deep into that. But you can go raid places, and then really your reason is just to get the loot, right? And we've seen that loot score in counties, in baronies, what the loot score may be. So anyway, but if you are not playing a tribe or a clan, you're playing in the feudal system here or the other systems that are equivalent in the game, you will have to have a casus belli to go to war. So how do you get a casus belli? Well, we already mentioned one, and we'll go up here to our council, and you see here that our bishop is currently fabricating a claim on a county. He's fabricating a claim down here, and we'll get out of these two and kind of zoom down here, and you can see he's fabricating a claim on this county, and it puts up a little token here so you can keep track of that. So you can fabricate a claim. Another way for a claim to come about that would give you a casus belli. So when he fabricates this claim, what's going to happen? It's going to show down here in your claims. And when you have a claim on something, that gives you a casus belli. Okay. Um, Another way is we've talked about lifestyles before. In the diplomacy lifestyle, there are several different perks that allow you to assert claims on different places. Okay. And so I'll just gloss over this very quickly. You can go look at these yourselves if you want to go into that kind of lifestyle, or if we eventually switch over to that lifestyle, you can essentially fabricate claims yourself, or at least you need a lot less reason, or you can make up reasons better as to why you have a claim on something, and and it will also allow you to have a casus belli when you attack that place. All right. Um, let's go look at these claims. So they're right down here. Here are the actual titles you have. So we're the Earl of Thomond, which means we are the Count of the county. We are also the Petty King of Munster. Okay. And then we have two claims down here. Kingdom of Ireland, and it says it's unpressed, and we'll get into that in a minute. And we have the Earldom of Connacht, which is also unpressed. Now remember, we got this claim because his minister, I say him, the petty king of Connacht, which is Aed Mactagd, his minister mistakenly said we had a claim on this. So, boop, all of a sudden, we now have a claim on this. If we wanted to go declare war, and always up here, it will show you the wars you can currently declare based on claims that you have. So we have a claim on Desmond, and we'll get to that in a minute. But here's the one on the Petty King of Connacht. We could declare war on him because his minister made a mistake. We also have another one down here, and we'll get into that in a moment. Um, okay, so we've got to have a casus belli. Those come generally from claims. You pretty much, you have to have a claim on something. What is the first kind of claim? The first kind of claim is what we call a de jure claim or a de jure claim. It can be pronounced sort of either way. Let's call it a de jure claim. A de jure claim means it is by operation of law. Okay. What could that possibly mean? Well, it doesn't mean that you've had a council or a parliament or anyone else pass a law saying, hey, that land should be mine. That's not how it worked back at this time. The way it works is that if you have it's all based on the titles you actually have. So if you have a title such as the Petty King of Munster and the Petty Kingdom of Munster, you have a claim on all of the land belonging to that title, or that should rightfully belong to that title. Because it doesn't belong right now, we only have two of the three counties, and that's why these map modes are down here. All right, so let's go look at duchy titles because that's what we have, the Petty Kingdom of Munster. This duchy is called Munster, but we do not own all three counties. We do not control all three counties. Well, what happens then? Well, we have a de jure claim on automatically on this county. Now, you don't see that claim here. Where you would see it is that it's not in our realm, it's out of our realm. So we can go look at our title. This is our duchy title. It shows the two earldoms that are in our realm. And then it shows the third one here that is not in our realm. We automatically have a claim on this land because, quote unquote, it is rightfully ours. And that's why these map modes are down here. So you can see de jure titles. Okay, let's do an example and let's say that we go and we take over half the counties of Ireland. And why do I say that? Well, now we have an unpressed claim on the Kingdom of Ireland, but forget about that for a minute. Let's just say we've already become the King of Ireland. How did we do that? Well, we would have to have 7 of the counties. We now have 2. We would have to have 7, 500 gold, and 2 duchy titles. Once we have those things, we can declare ourselves the King of Ireland. Well, okay. Let's say that both the Duchy of Meath and the Duchy of Leinster have are now in our realm. We've taken them over. But the Duchy of Ulster up here, we have not. So we have not taken the northern part of Ireland. If our title is now the King of Ireland, we will have an automatic claim on Ulster. We will have a casus belli to attack Ulster because it is part of our title. And that's the thing to remember about de jure is that once you have a title, you are then entitled to all of the land, whether that be counties, duchies, kingdoms. Now, if we go to the next map mode, if we have enough counties and money and whatever else we need, prestige, to declare ourselves the Emperor of Britannia. So let's say that we've taken over all of Ireland, all of Scotland, the top half of England, and we have enough, and we say we are now the Emperor of Britannia, which again, we'll go to this, the Emperor of Britannia, and this will always tell you what you're needed. So 73 of these counties are needed, 1,000 gold and 2 kingdom titles. Okay, so if the head of England has a good chance if it takes over Scotland to have all of these, and then declare that he's the Emperor of Britannia, at that point the Emperor of Britannia would have a de jure claim on Ireland. Okay, so it all comes down to the title that you have, and any title that you want, you can always click on the shield. Go to the whoops, resume. Go to the map mode of the title you're trying to get. So we already are the Petty King of Munster. We just don't have the third county of it. We do have 2, which is what was required to declare ourselves the petty king, but we do not have the third. So that's de jure claims. We can automatically, and let's just go do it now. Even though we've got these raiders down here, we'll just do it. Let's click on Tralee here, Earldom of Desmond. Here's Earl Muradoc. We can go declare war, use a casus belli against him. Um, seize the earldom of Desmond. So this is always going to list all of the potential casus belli. Now make sure you read over these, okay? Because sometimes some of these casus belli are only going to relate to certain counties. They may even only relate to a barony. And it may say you have a claim over, whatever the name of this barony is, and that's all you have a casus belli to go attack. In this case, we have seized the earldom. It is a de jure reason, a de jure casus belli for the reasons we just talked about. So we hit that, okay? Our objectives And you will always want to look at this to see if there are other objectives and make sure you get what you want. You don't want to. Now, see, to try to get this is going to cost us 100 prestige. Now, that was the case before I hit change objective. It was already going to cost us this, but always come down here and look at what potential objectives there are, because maybe you have a casus belli against a barony, but you didn't realize you do against the county, and it will list it here. Choose your objective, and you say, oh, well, I can, I want to go after the whole county, or I want to go after the whole duchy. Always look at this to see if your objective lines up with what you're actually trying to do. Now, also up here, so it says choose a casus belli. Fine. It shows you any allies you have and any allies that they have. Now, see, remember, we did that marriage with Gwynedd, which is over in Wales, and he is now our ally. We can try to pull him into the war if we want. We'll see. We'll talk about that. In this case, if we get to enforce our demands, meaning we have won the war, we will gain the contested county. This will always show you what you would possibly win based on your objective. All right. Now down here, it tells you how how your army essentially stacks up uh, against theirs. And so this will show you based on their outlook, right? Their military strength is vastly inferior to ours. And it will show you they have 263 in levies and 5 knights. All right. It's going to cost us again 100 prestige to declare this war. So, this can depend on whether the claim is fabricated. It can depend on a whole lot of things. It can depend on, are you doing it for a duchy? For a duchy, this may cost 300 or 400. Is it a claim that's pressed? That's a pressed claim, unpressed claim. There's all different factors that can go into it. But it will always generally cost you some prestige, and depending on if the war is a religious one, could cost you some piety, or you could actually gain some piety. But let's go ahead and declare war, and we have now declared war on the Earl down here. But before we go and you know have our war, let's go and look at claims for just a little bit longer. Now, we have these two claims. Kingdom of Ireland, that's unpressed, so we do have a claim on that. And then we have the earldom of Connacht. Now, we talked about that with the minister. Now, the earldom of Ireland does not allow us to just go willy-nilly and declare war on people because we have not declared ourselves the King of Ireland, or have not met the requirements to be the King of Ireland yet. But it does show us the other flavors of claims. So you have de jure claims, all right? You have fabricated claims that our bishop is going to do. You may have religious claims if you're religious leader, and this will come into effect much more as a Catholic or as a Muslim country, or county or duchy, whatever the case may be. Your religious leader may declare a holy war, which will give you certain claims on counties and land. As a good example, let's just go down to Spain here. Um, and the southern part of Spain is now Muslim. It's very possible that a Muslim religious leader may declare that one of these counties, all of these counties, um, are up for grabs, that they want you to make a holy war on the Catholics here, or maybe up in France, okay? All of a sudden, you would get claims for all of these because it's a holy decree, and therefore you would get claims for them. The other way that you can have claims is to inherit them. You can inherit them, you can get them by marriage, you can make sure your kids get them by those things. You can marry off people in your court to get claims. Anyone in your court that has a claim, you can press that claim for them. And so, as an example, if we and we don't, so I can't show it very well here. Well, that's not true. I can show it well, but we just can't go to a person in our court and say, here's that person. But let's say someone in our court has a claim for whatever reason. Maybe their father used to be a baron, and they have a claim on uh, Korka. Okay, I'm just totally making this up. They have a claim on the barony of Korka, but they are in your court now. You can go press that claim for them, meaning you can declare war for them for this barony. All right. Now be careful with that because if that claim from someone in your court is of the same rank as yours. So let's say someone in your court has a claim on the petty kingdom of Connacht, and you go and when I keep saying press it on them, meaning you declare war. When you use a claim to take an action, that is called pressing the claim. And we'll get to that in just a second. But be careful if it's of the same rank and you take over this land, they get the title. So he's like, what, huh? Um, Meanwhile, though, if you do it into a county, so for a count, let's say, if you go in and take over this county for someone in your court, that becomes yours. They may become your vassal and now control that county, but it's in your realm. All right. If you go take an equal rank or, you know, even a higher rank, that person that you do that for when you're pressing their claim, they get the title. Okay. So just make sure you're always using that court claim, you're making sure it's for a title that's lesser than yours. Alrighty. Um, let's think about a time when you marry off someone. Now, remember, if you marry a female to a male, that female is going to go to the male's court. So if we have a female in our court and we marry them to someone in the Leinster court over here, Duchy of Leinster, um, they will go to that court. I guess in this case, it's just the earldom of Leinster. This has not been put together. They would go to this court unless you pick that it's a matrilineal marriage. If it's a matrilineal marriage, the male comes to your court. So let's say that your sister, let's just make this up. Let's say that your sister, you want to marry her to someone that has a claim on the county of Leinster, and you find someone who has a claim on the county of Leinster. How would we do that? Well, we can do that by going down and finding who the claimants are. Hold on, let's go find this. Oh, I think I have to click on the shield. Yeah, let's figure out who the claimants are to this title. If I can. There we go. Claimants. So you have to come to the Earldom of Leinster and you will see claimants. Who are they? Uh, it's Earl Murchad MacDarmont and Enan MacDarmont. They both have a claim on the Earldom of Leinster. Okay, let's say we marry our sister to them and because of our prestige, we make it matrilineal. So they would come to our court. They would be in our court. Right down here, you would be able to see them after that marriage happens. When the ruler die, well, it doesn't even matter if they pass. That person has a claim. You could go press that claim for them against whoever the ruler or the Earl of Leinster is. All right. And so bringing people to your court is very powerful. And you can see right here when we go to our court, invite claimants. All right. And so invite claimants will have people come to your court, and then you may have to give up some prestige or some gold to have them stay. your guests. When someone is a guest in your court, you will have an opportunity to invite them permanently to your court. You pay a little bit, okay? Now, this isn't the case, right? If it's a marriage and it's matrilineal, they're married to your sister, they're going to come to your court and then they will have that claim. Now, unfortunately, none of the people in our court have any claims other than Brian. Brian, our son. Well, let's bring this up. What are Brian's claims? So we've talked about de jure claims, right, by operation of law. Now let's talk about the other claims that make up the universe of claims. De jure is the most obvious one. After that, you have implicit claims. What's an implicit claim? You inherit it from your parents. And so Brian has an implicit claim on the petty kingdom of Munster and the earldom of Thomond. He has those claims because he is our son. Aine does not have that claim because she is a female, but our other children or male children would have that claim. So Brian has an implicit claim on these two titles that we have. So we have to have the titles. We pass implied claims down to Brian of those. All right. And so, children, that's very powerful, right? So let's say that we want to, um, increase our familial claims. What if we have our brother go marry a princess over here? We've already done one marriage here with Gwynedd. Let's say we have our brother marry a princess over here who has an implied claim on Gwynedd. All right? When they're they have children, those children will inherit that claim. So it will be of our brother's line. That's a way to go get claims and bring them back to your family through marriage. Now that brings us to the next point, which is let's say that Brian, let's say that we things go poorly and we lose our titles during the course of the game. We lose these titles. Well, we can't lose them both. Let's say that we lose the petty kingdom of Munster. We're no longer the petty king. We get driven out of Ormond by our vassal. So now we're just the Earl of Thomond. We pass that down to Brian. Brian becomes the Earl of Thomond. He would then, down here, have a claim on the petty kingdom of Munster. He inherited that from us. We would still have that claim. If we were no longer the petty king, we would still have a claim on it. Um, so that would come down here to claims. Okay, let's say Brian did nothing with that. He never attacked Ormond. He never used it as a casus belli down here. That would then become what is called an unpressed claim, meaning no one's using, you can't pass on claims forever. It essentially goes down one step of the ladder, and then after that, it will fade away. Okay, so there are things called pressed claims, which your uh, heirs can inherit. All right. Pressed claims would be, let's say that we were the King of Ireland and we have a claim because of that on Ulster. If we then later on, you know, let's say that we attacked Ulster, so we pressed that claim, it would then move down to Brian. But let's say we got knocked back, we were no longer the King of Ireland, we came back here into our petty kingdom, and we never ever tried to take that back or to press that claim, then we would not be able to pass that claim down. You have got to use a claim that you have. So when Brian gets these claims down here, um, and let's say he loses them, he would have to go press those claims for them still to be claims. They become unpressed if you do nothing with them. All right. And that's really claims. You uh, People get them generally by operation of law, by them being manufactured for religious reasons, perks, or because they inherit them from their parents. And you can always go look at every character in the game and look at their claims. It's very powerful to marry off members of your family to go get claims back into your court that you can use. It's also powerful uh, to potentially use the female members of your family to do matrilineal marriages so that potentially those children have claims that go down your family line. All right? Or you can have your brothers marry princesses that have claims, and then they will start to go down the line of their children, assuming you press those claims, because they will go away if you do not press them. All right? So that is claims. And you always need a claim to have a casus belli to go to war. All right. And again, we're fabricating this one. We'll get one eventually when he gets done with that, and then we will have a claim on the county of Athlone. You know, our religious leader will make something up. Let's go to military. Military, your armies, levies, and knights. So you see your total number of soldiers, 364 levies and 6 knights. Levies are like a blob, okay? They have what is 10 damage, 10 toughness. So attack and defense, 10 and 10. Knights, meanwhile, are like your super soldiers. All right. So when this army gets raised, it will actually say that we have a very strong army, mainly because of the ratio of knights to levies. And it's either knights or men at arms. These are your professional soldiers. So the levies are like farmers that you've raised from the countryside both yourself and from your vassals. So we can get a total of 364 from those two things. But they're just a blob of soldiers. They're not, particularly good at anything. They are just bodies. Knights are like super soldiers. They do essentially 10 times damage. And so your knights are these, guys riding around the battlefield, just hacking everybody down. And so the more knights you can get, the better. How do you get more knights? Well, you get more knights through certain perks, through prestige, um, we can see right here why we have 6 knights, I think. Hold on, I just saw it pop up there. It's because of our martial skill. I don't know why that's not popping up right now. Let's see. Oh, we're a Duke. Okay, so a Duke gets +6. We can get perks. We can unlock perks to get more knights. We can do other things in the game, make certain decisions. If we become more powerful, get more prestige, we can get more knights, right? And the more knights you have, the better. Knights are people that are in your court, all right? And you can also invite knights, just like we talked about inviting claimants. You can invite knights to your court, and when they get to your court, then you have to essentially buy them off with prestige or money to get them to stay there, but then they can become one of your knights. So what this is here is a listing of all of the people in your court and their prowess. When I say all of the people, it's all of the men in your court and their prowess. Prowess is individual fighting skill, okay? And this is where prowess becomes important. For every man in your court, you can either force them to be a knight, you can allow them to be a knight, or you can forbid them to be a knight. If they are too important as a counselor, this is Mayor Finsnecta, right? He's our best knight. So when we call our army in, Mayor Finsnecta will be there ready to duke it out, which is pretty funny, I think. Um, but you can go through each person and determine, are we going to allow it? Are we going to force it? Are we going to forbid it? Okay. And then the top 6 here will be your knights. We're allowing everybody right now. Um, because why not? But it will pick the top six. We can only have six. But again, we can invite people to our court that have, and the game will find good prowess players, or we can go out and find them. So take a pretty maiden at your court. You can go and search for a spouse for her that would be a man. Maybe he's lowborn, so he would love to marry a courtier of yours, and he may have a very high prowess score. You bring him to your court by doing a matrilineal marriage, and now all of a sudden you've got a great knight. These are the kind of things you have to go out and search for and look for, and there are other ways to play the game that maybe aren't as apparent as some of the more obvious ones. And so eligible courtiers and vassals. So our vassal can also be down here. Where is he? He's around. There's Earl Ragnald. He's not much of a fighter, and we may just forbid him from even being a knight. Um, so that's knights, super soldiers. Create men at arms. Okay, the game has these seven different what it calls men of arms. These are specialized professional troops. There are light footmen, bowmen, light horsemen, pikemen, armored footmen, onagers, and mangonels, which these are good for sieges. These other, you have five basic types of soldier here. Um, I will let you read through these. We're not going to go through each one, but I will kind of just point out the highlights. Attack, defense. This is during the battle. Once the battle's over, there will be a pursuit or a, retreat. So this is how good it is on the pursuit. This is how good it is on the retreat. And you can kind of compare these things. See, bowmen are very good on the attack. They do not do this pursuit or retreat. They can't help out. They've got a bow. They're just taking off running. Light footmen can, do kind of a rear guard action and hold things off. Light horsemen, obviously, very good at pursuing down a retreating army. Good on the attack, not as good, but okay on the defense. They're good for setting up a back screen or a rear guard action, but they're especially good at pursuit. Pikemen, you can go through each one of these. The other thing to keep, or the other two things to keep in mind, is that each one of these counters at least one, two, or three of the other types. And so you can say, oh, I know that that army has a lot of cavalry. I better get a bunch of pikemen. Or you can say, I know that that army is made up of nothing but archers, so I'm going to get a bunch of light horsemen, and so on and so forth. You can see what they counter. Bowmen counter other skirmishers, light footmen, counter heavy infantry because they're faster than them, I assume. And then also terrain effects. Terrain has a very big effect on different kinds of troops. So here we're at light footmen. They do more damage and have more toughness in forests, in taiga, in jungle. So these different types, and you can always go here and see. So our Barony of Luminich is wetlands. I doubt there's anything that's particularly like great in wetlands. Pikemen are good in hills, in desert mountains, in mountains. So you'll see, whether it puts pluses or minuses. And now you can see horsemen to see the minuses. Horsemen are good in the plains, good in the dry lands. They're bad in hills, bad in mountains, bad particularly bad in wetlands. So we would probably want to keep that in mind. I mean, horse is not good in our type of terrain. This will also tell you full maintenance and unraised maintenance. If you have to raise your armies when you're going to go to war, this is what they would cost a month if you raise these troops. But if they're just hanging out, eating your grain or whatever they're doing, they're going to cost this much. Um, so here you see it will start with 5 soldiers. So every one of these has a starting amount that will be based on various factors like your prestige, uh, your various skills, and it'll tell you how much it costs to create. And you can see here also 5 soldiers, but then you can monthly reinforce them so they will start to build. Now that will cost you money. Uh, well, we can't see that until we create it, but it will cost you money if you click that you want to reinforce it. But let's just, what do we have? 95, just for fun. Let's make a pikeman group. Let's create them. Okay, let's create them. Let's create them. Hold on. Do we not have enough of something? Let's see. 95 gold. There we go. Okay, so now we've created them. You see the maximum size, so it's 5 of 100. You see how much they're costing you at the moment, which is 090. It's monthly maintenance, and I think once we start the game, that would go down to zero point 0.7. Um, it's unraised at this moment, but we have now created that, and we'll have 5 of these pikemen, right? Until we're doing monthly reinforcement, it will take us 10 months to reach full strength, but that will be costing us each month. All right, so now we're up to 375 soldiers. You can also buy mercenaries. I think that that's pretty obvious what that means and how that might work. You have these different groups of men traveling the countryside that for a fee, and you can see here, uh, you can't do this. It would put us too much in debt. Again, these guys, yep, it will put us in too much debt. Since we just bought these men at arms, it's not allowing us to get mercenaries because we would go in too much debt. You can't go negative you got to pay these guys up front. It's not like you have a credit card, right? So you'd have to wait until you have 110 gold to hire one of them. So if you're in big trouble, I try never to hire mercenaries just because they take way too much money. But if you're ever in trouble, got to do what you got to do. Holy orders, these are people of your faith that you could potentially call in to fight with you. For insular Christianity, it's probably not that relevant. For Catholicism and Islam, much more relevant, right? There may be people that would want to help you if you're Muslim and you're fighting the Christians that may want to come on your side. You don't have to pay them anything, you don't have to do anything. They're coming in to help you. So you could call them in maybe, or they're just out in the countryside and you have to send them click on the button to let them know, hey, we're in trouble, right? Raise all armies. That will raise them up where you have your rally point. So let's go to that. So we see our army here, rally points, okay? Our main rally point is generally always going to be our castle, but you can change that. You can click it and you can change where you put it by right clicking. So let's say someone has taken our castle and we want to now rally at Ormond. We could right click here and that would be our main rally point. And then we could also raise a local army or raise all here. So, we could raise the levies down here, but our men at arms and knights might not be called if it's local. Raise all here would raise our entire army. You can set more than one rally point. You can do that by adding one. And again, you would just click and it would be a green flag. We may want to do that just to make sure if Thomond is under attack, we can call our troops down here at Ormond. You're just setting up a second one. You could also move this one. Same idea. Okay. So let's raise our army because we've said we want to go to war, and let's start the game here. Um, we had some marriage going on that I'd forgotten about. It's been a while since we probably did some of these. We've formed He's Catholic and French, so we have formed an alliance with him. Where is he? Let's go see. Okay, he's down here. I can't remember exactly who we married. Is this who we married Ain to, or we've betrothed them? I just don't remember, and it's not important for what we're doing here. Um, And now you see down here that the Earl of Desmond is fighting it out with these raiders. Okay, so these raiders are down here and they're getting in the way of my darn tutorial. So I'd really like them to finish this off or at least get out of here. So let's just speed this up. Okay, I'm gonna again get out of this stuff here. Okay, let's pause. Oh, we were paused because we've got decisions to make. Let's pause here for a second. We've got our main army up here, and you will see our main army, the first army of Luminich. This is how much attrition we're taking. Now, remember in counties we had talked about supply limits? This is how much supply that this particular area can withstand. So 3770, that's Innis, or no, I'm sorry, I think that's for the entire county. Yeah, this is a county amount. So the supply limit, every barony that we go to here will be 3770. So this county of Thomond can hold 3,770 troops before we're taking attrition for not getting supply. Same supply limit down here in Ormond. Let's go back to our army. All right. And so attrition, that is how that is figured. You can read about attrition here. When soldiers are lost due to desertion, disease, or starvation, uh, when it's out of supply. You got to keep this sucker in supply. Now, you will take some attrition no matter what, but if you're in supply, it'll be quite a bit less. And you see here, supplies, it will tell you whether you're well supplied or not. We're in friendly territory, so that helps us, of course. Um, you see here, we are commanded by our ruler, which is us. We see our special skills. Now, keep in mind these things. We are better off fighting in plains, farmlands, or steppes because we're an open terrain expert. We are an aggressive attacker, so we do more fatal casualties, meaning those troops will never come back. They are done. And this is the most important thing, commander advantage. Our martial skill is 22, and leading our own soldiers, we get a +5. Commander advantage is 27. That is what you're going to be comparing to any other person that you may decide to have command your armies. As you can see, no one is nearly as good as we are at commanding our own armies, and we'll also be comparing that to the rival general because this will give us an advantage each turn, as you might imagine. This is a roll of the dice game, or what we might call a rock, paper, scissors type game, where dice rolls are going to determine a lot. Um, and so the better advantage we have, that will give us bonuses that will really help us when combined with our dice rolls. 426 troops, they're of decent quality. Now, again, you can look at quality and what it means. The more knights and the more men at arms we have, the better the quality. And when I say the more we have compared to levies, right? Okay. Um, then we have our levies, how much we've raised, 320. All right. We've got 6 knights, and we now have 100 spearmen or pikemen. Remember when we sped up the game? Well, we went through those 7 months, and now we have all 100 spearmen. All right, so this is our army. Now we can do certain things with it. We can attach it to another army. We could split it off. We could split off a new army, so split it in half. And if we did split it in half, then we could reattach them. Um, well, this is split in half. I'm sorry. This split off new army, we would actually pick what they are. This splits it in half for you. Split off the hired soldiers, so our men at arms and our knights, we could split them off because they're hired soldiers. Um, or we could just disband the whole army because it's costing us quite a bit of money to hold this army together. If we go up here, raised armies, it's costing us 1.5 gold pieces a month. But let's get the game going again and let's click on our army and let's send them down here to attack. So you Simply select on them, left click, and then you right click on the county where you want to go. And let's see what happens. And as you see, it takes time and you can see your troops marching. Now, one thing that people, oh, wait a minute, what just happened? Oh, this popped up, so we got paused. Sorry. I thought we were running. I was like, man, yeah, I'm not sure why we got that. I'm not paying attention to those anymore, to be quite honest with you. Okay, now let's pause. Now we're in battle, and this is the battle screen where we hack it out. You see up here, you can see just kind of a very high level summary. We've got 393 troops of okay quality. They've got 63 troops of good quality. This bar tells you how you're doing. Right now we're winning, okay? Down here is the battle screen. This tells you in what kind of terrain that we're fighting in and all of the effects. It's very hard, obviously, to attack or harder in wetlands. This again tells us the number of troops that each side has. This tells us our routed casualties. Now, this is important because these men are not dead. They will rejoin the army after the battle. And so, even though they're showing as not part of the active army, as we retreat or they retreat, the battle is over, we will get those men back. Same for them. Okay, again, quality. Now you see their general, Adrian, he's a 12. This is his commander advantage. We are a 27. That gives us all sorts of advantages in this battle. Um, Down here, it will list some of our special skills. His special skill is also being an open terrain expert. We have two. This shows our men-at-arms and our knights, all right? So you can kind of get a breakdown of what special troops they have. Now, this right here is showing plus 12, advantage in our favor. Now remember, we're a 27, they're a 12, or their general is a 12. Advantage 12 in your favor. Your damage is increased by 24%. Our advantage is plus 36. We're a plus 22 martial skill. We're leading our own soldiers for plus 5. That's how they get the 27. But now you see battle roll, which is shown right here. Every 3 days, the game rolls a 1 to 10 die and you get your battle roll. So it adds a little bit of unpredictability, right? Their advantage is a plus 24. They're defending in wetlands. Their commander has a martial skill of 12 and they got a battle roll of 7. And you can always see here, so our advantage is plus 12. Plus we have 100 pikemen and 6 knights. We're in very good shape here. Here is the ebb and flow of the battle. The other thing to keep in mind here, combat width. Please go read this tooltip. The point of it is that in certain kinds of terrain, only a certain number of your troops can fight at one time. It's called frontage. So in wetlands, it's very little. It's only 166. And you can go in any county and you can see, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to find it. Sorry, I'm going to get out of that. Uh, the point is, you can go see in any barony or any county what the terrain is, and it will tell you what's called the combat width. Okay, and that combat width will be frontage. So if you have a small army, you can get in the hills or you can get in wetlands, and the bigger army does not have as big of an advantage over you because the frontage is much less. Okay? Um, every battle has 4 phases. An early battle phase where you cannot retreat, so you can take losses and you can't get the heck out of there. It has then an early battle phase here where it's skirmishers. Then we go to the late battle. I don't know why it keeps showing that. This would be the late battle phase, and then this would be the retreat, the pursuit. Okay, so every battle has 4. it'll be lit up here with what's going on at the moment. Right now, we're in the early battle phase. Let's go ahead and hit play here. I don't know why it was showing. Oh, okay. Well, we did it. We won that battle. Um, and when you win a battle, you will take prisoners. And you can take those prisoners and you can, first of all, it gives you more war score, which we can talk about down here. War score allows you to either say, hey, I've had no more, let's call a I want no more, let's call a truce, or you can enforce your demands. Now you can see will not accept enforced demands yet because we only have them at a 50%. When we capture their castle, they will get to a 100%. How do we capture their castle? By a siege. And the siege is in process now. We've driven them out of here. We've won this battle. Now we're sieging the castle, and it will take a certain amount of time. And if we have those men at arms that have siege engines in them, let's go back up here. The onagers or the mangonels, that will reduce the amount of time that we have to siege. Once we take their castle, we will then be able to enforce our demands. And with that, we are right up on the hour mark. I just wanted to hit all of these high level things and get you there, but I don't want to go over an hour. We've been trying to keep these to 30 or 40 minutes. Of course, there's a lot that goes into war, but hopefully I've given you, those big topics that you can start thinking about. Always click on the tooltips. They will tell you quite a bit. But just remember, you've got to have a claim. There are a million different ways to get claims. You just have to be a little clever about it sometimes. Or not clever. Just send your bishop over and fabricate a claim if you can. So with that, I'm going to call this episode to a close. Thank you for joining me as always. This has been Strategy Gaming Dojo, and I will talk to you next time.